This could be so even if the photo was not protected by copyright. Should you meet him, he would strike you as friendly and thoughtful. One day it struck me why this was so. It is not uncommon for athletes to have difficulty identifying their strengths. Essential as they are, our senses can also mislead us. Finding and telling the truth has been my credo ever since. It was what an artist felt about a subject that broke with tradition. It has taken me many years of adult life to learn how to grieve. If you doubt this, observe how much the mass media affect your routine. A kid who does this on the busy streets of Manhattan does not. What was the point of an artist doing what the camera did better? As if that was not coincidence enough, more was to follow. She did take the little girl to her home, risking her life to do so. Humans could access it with comparative ease, and they did. You might say yes while nodding your head. This is where psychologists and linguists sometimes differ. I knew if he wanted to, he could definitely outrun me. It was in Berlin that he had a still greater difficulty with the authorities. It was a clear indication that children's happiness doesn't come from stuff. It is about time we stop making value judgments about anger. Landmarks are more difficult to feel. Let your achievements and the corresponding results speak for you. It was a great start to what was going to be a very interesting season. The top 5 choices will be made available for voting. He was born of modest parents whom he lost before he was 10. He went to a military school where he fell in love with mathematics. I seem to be reduced to being seen only as a Sister Royce's sister. The word is not always used in this proper sense. He held it out to me. It concerns the intrusion of the observer into the system being observed. The frequency with which such activity occurs seems to be increasing. The legs seem too fragile for them to have made a running start. It had a word in it whose meaning was not at all clear. It is not so much a moral as an ontological attitude. Once that belief is fixed, no matter what comes along, it confirms it. You might spend it running on a treadmill or reading in a cafe. When washed and dried, it was edible for humans and livestock. Could the moss on the rocks below be it? Their fangs are so powerful that they can go through a person's fingernail. At first, I was terrified of what was on my face. It was too difficult to move on her hands and knees. That time that could have been frustrating became fun time for us. Locals pay much lower prices for the same purchases. It does whatever you want. To answer that question, 90% of you will look up and to the left. He allowed that he meant no harm, and that I misinterpreted him. As long as he had his guitar, the internet, and a phone, I was of no use. It took a while to figure out how I could bring us closer again. Toddlers aren't necessarily polite to one another. Unwittingly, Dad has given his child the message that he allows eyes. It is important that the subject be unaware that he is being observed. If you look around you, you can find a place where help is needed. The traveler enters a small village seeking food and shelter for the night. The baker gives the man his own bed in which to sleep. Try as he might, he cannot stop sweeping until the day is over. Paying a wage above the equilibrium level was profitable for the firm. If you have eaten dinner before you arrive, you will wish you had not. Every situation, properly perceived, becomes an opportunity. These changes we can observe and distinguish. One of the main reasons it ended was that the criticism was so constant. This is true even for people who say, "If I were rich, I wouldn't work." Fruits and vegetables are believed to help prevent cancer. Companies that did not pursue this opportunity are no longer in business. Upon docking, Mike leapt from the boat. Not bringing the problem to students' attention will not make it go away. Of course, what the carpenter earns, the homeowner loses. As soon as you feel yourself slipping, do something. Others clung to whatever they could. It may be telling me that I am what I have. These are actually the guys who made me famous. He looked like a cowboy taming a particularly stubborn rattlesnake. You begin to accept what is, without considering what could be. As fans, we find it easy to remember the home runs. It was the recognition of the unconscious conflict that cured her. This standard is expected to spread throughout the German labor force. He was nothing like her mother, who vacuumed in diagonal rows. we were able to absorb that jump without increasing your contribution. The sea was as much his element as the land. Literacy is to reading what mathematics is to counting. Explanation is more than summarizing the data that have been collected. Then Truth saw a large crowd assembled at the edge of town. This started a chain reaction that forced all major carriers to ban smoking. For those who believe in themselves, it is only a challenge. They assessed comprehension of 31 signs, 15 of which had word messages. Roger Ebert's job is to see lots of bad movies so that I don't have to. There are many places where coffee can be grown. At the top of that list were put family first and keep socially engaged. Franchisees who'd gone bankrupt were never asked if they felt successful. They are the extended family that is gone in China. In the shop is the dial on which is written every publication for sale. Why the ants allow these mere borders to stay no one knows. And on it went into the evening. Their standards are impossible for them or their colleagues to meet. I would have come to pick you up from the hospital. It is the rural poor who are most dependent on biological diversity. he or she will benefit as much as you will from daily exercise. As fans, we find it easy to remember the home runs. Never have we experienced such an explosion of new production techniques. Don't let them keep you from reaching out to others. Each of these roles brings with it a set of responsibilities and obligations.